Hello everyone and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to have a look at playing as the Universities of Jol Nar in Twilight Imperium 4th edition. These guys are the technology specialists in the game. They thrive on getting as many technologies as possible and using that to score as many objectives as they can. All in all, they can be an aggressive race, but most of the time their main thing is going to be lots of tech and soaking up as many objectives as they can get. So let's take a look at what you get at the start. Probably the biggest advantage that these guys get is that they have 4 starting technologies. That's a huge amount, and with quite a lot of the public objectives in the game being focused around technologies, this is a huge head start to get VP, particularly early in the game. The 4 techs you get at the start are Neural Motivator, Anti-Mass Deflectors, Sarween Tools, and Plasma Scoring. Neural Motivator is during the status phase you draw 2 action cards instead of 1, so double up on your action cards. Anti-Mass Deflectors is your ships can move into and through asteroid fields. When other players' units use Space Cannon against your units, apply -1 to the result of each die roll. Sarween Tools is when one or more of your units use production, reduce the combined cost of those produced units by 1. So it's basically a -1 to the cost whenever you build. It's a flat -1 no matter how many things you build. And Plasma Scoring is when one or more of your units use bombardment or space cannon, one of those units may roll 1 additional die. So bombardment is usually dreadnoughts and space cannon is usually PDS. So already there's quite a lot of things you can do from those technologies alone. Going in and out of asteroid fields, having a reduction on your costs, getting extra action cards, re-rolling dice when doing PDS defense or bombardment. So there's a lot to take in just from the very start of the game already for these guys. Jol Nar also have a rather unusual starting unit setup. Start with 1 dreadnought, which is this big scary ship here, 2 carriers, which is really nice to have, only 1 fighter. Usually you get a lot more than 1 fighter in starting units. These guys only get 1. Only 2 infantry, which means you're going to have to pick and choose how you start the game, how many places you're going to conquer. A space dock, just like everybody else, to allow you to build, and 2 PDS units. These are your defensive structures that will fire at ships when they come into the system that they're in. So this is what you're going to have in front of you when you start playing. You've got your start system here with 2 planets, Jol and Nar. One of these is a 1-2. This is resources, this is influence. And the other is a 2-3. You're probably going to want your space dock on the 2-3 because you can build more stuff with the higher yellow you've got there. So with a space dock on Nar, you'll be able to build up to 4 units instead of 3 if you use Jol Nar. You got your infantry guys, you've got your 2 carriers, you've got your dreadnought, you've got a fighter, and you've got your 2 PDS. You can split those up or keep them together whatever way you want. Doesn't have a huge difference, just for if somebody comes into your home system to try and take it off you when they're landing their troops. Alright, so this is the front of your race sheet. You've got all of your units here, and these are your abilities on the right. This is what we're going to focus on here. You've got 3 abilities, however one of them is actually a penalty rather than a bonus. Let's look at that first. It's Fragile. Apply a -1 to the result of each of your units' combat rolls. It also has this red symbol here with a little minus subtract icon here. And you'll notice that this is here on each of your units to remind you that actually you need to subtract 1 from each of your results. Just briefly compare this to a different race, the Federation of Sol. If you have a look here, let's take the Destroyer as example. It hits on a 9. The University of Jol Nar, it also says 9. So remember, this 9 here doesn't have the -1 already taken off, so you got to hit on 10. Okay, making it, a 1 in 10 chance to hit, which is really unlikely and really poor. However, they also have Brilliant, which is when you spend a command token to resolve the secondary ability of Technology, which is this strategy card here, you may resolve the primary ability instead. The primary ability of Technology is you research Technology, which is free, doesn't cost any resources. Then you may spend 6 resources to do another one. This is a really interesting and really cool part of the game, is the technology tree and being able to boost up all of your stuff. The secondary ability is usually spend a token from your strategy pool and 4 resources to research technology. So you can only research 1 technology with the secondary ability. This Brilliant ability allows Jol Nar players, even if they haven't chosen strategy, if someone else has chosen it, when it comes around to doing secondary abilities, you can do the much better double technology primary instead. So that's pretty awesome and will lead you to a lot of victory points in the game. Their other positive ability here is Analytical. When you research a technology that is not a unit upgrade technology, you may ignore 1 prerequisite. Let's just take a close look at that. So this is your starting technology stuff. You've got 4 as shown already. If you wanted to build a unit upgrade, like say Space Dock 2, you'll notice that it's got these 2 yellow symbols here that match one of the ones on your technology, this one here. In order to upgrade your Space Dock 2, you're going to need a second yellow technology before you're even eligible to build this. Your special ability, Analytical, that we're just talking about here, that doesn't give you any bonuses against this type of thing. This is a unit upgrade which has a little ship on the back, but what it does give you is a bonus to ignore prerequisites on the other type of technologies, the ones with these kind of node circuitry icons on the back. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to get hypermetabolism, which is a green technology, and it usually requires you to have 2 green technologies already built. This is going to give you a bunch of command tokens, for example. If you were any other race other than the Jol Nar, you would have to build another green technology, like say maybe this one, Daxiv Animators, before you could build this one. As the Jol Nar, you don't need to do that at all. You can just build this one straight away without having to have 2 green prereqs before that. So yeah, this is a chase to some of the more advanced technologies, and as Jol Nar, it's going to be really good for you to be able to do that. You have 4 commodities, which is actually relatively high. These commodities are what you're going to be using to trade with people. So if you fill up your commodities during the trade phase, you'll have 4 here, and when you trade with people, they're going to flip over and get passed around as trade goods. 4 is one of the higher amounts. The highest is 6, which is the Emirates of Fakan, and they can be as low as 2. So 4 is pretty good. You also have your unique Flagship, which is this unit here. Let's take a look at this one's ability. It is the JNS Hylarim, which is a cool name. The ability on this guy is when making a combat roll for this ship, each result of 9 or 10 before applying modifiers produces 2 additional hits. Wow, that's crazy. So you can do 3 hits with this guy. That's bonkers. It has sustained damage, meaning that if you take a hit, you can turn the ship upside down. That counts as a hit, but the ship is still alive, still going. It has a cost of 8. It hits twice on a 6. It has 1 move and a capacity of 3, meaning you can move 1 system away, carry 3 fighters or infantry along with it. Just like every other race, the Jol Nar have their own special promissory note. You can give this to somebody you want to make friends with during the game, and then they'll have a little bit of power over you. Their one is called Research Agreement, and it reads, after the Jol Nar player researches a technology that is not a faction technology, gain that technology and return this card to the Jol Nar player. So you can pass this out to somebody who might be technology hungry, which should be everybody at the table really. And when you research any technology at all, they can just also get it. They ignore prerequisites, so even if you get like War Sons, which usually takes quite a lot of building up to get, they can just take it for free and give you this card back. It's a really powerful bargaining chip, and one not to be taken lightly. You can get quite a lot of friendship going with this one, and it's pretty fun. Jol Nar also has 2 special racial technologies. The first of which is the E-res siphons, and the other is the Spatial conduit cylinder. Let's take a closer look at those. Okay, E-res siphons reads, after another player activates a system that contains 1 or more of your ships, gain 4 trade goods. Wow, that is crazy good. It's worth noting that you can build this right at the very start of the game if you want, if technology is chosen in the first round, because you can ignore one of these 2 yellow prereqs and you have a yellow technology at the start of the game. So this means that you're very standoffish, because if someone wants to attack you, you're getting lots of trade goods, meaning you can bounce back and build more stuff, making you a very powerful enemy. The other one is Spatial conduit cylinder, and that reads, you may exhaust this card after you activate a system that contains 1 or more of your units. That system is adjacent to all other systems that contain 1 or more of your units during this activation. Let's take a little bit of a look at that on the board. So let's just say you've got this situation here, and you want to activate this system down here. You'd use one of your tokens to activate the system, and then a ship that would normally you wouldn't be able to reach here because of being too far away. You can exhaust your spatial conduit cylinder, and these would be adjacent to each other. Likewise, these would be adjacent to each other. Anything being adjacent to this system here, meaning you could just fly your stuff in there, and that would be okay. Bearing in mind that you still need to follow your fleet capacity. I mean, you can only have so many ships in each fleet. This is a pretty defensive move most of the time. To activate a system that already has one of your ships in it means that you can't activate a different system like over here and then move anybody from anywhere. It doesn't work that way. You've already got to have ships in the system for this to be applicable. Still pretty good. Allows you to pull some reinforcements back or set up a move for the next round where you want to have lots of people going into one area. So it's useful. I think probably not quite as good as the tons of trade goods, but also pretty good. And just like E-res siphons, you can build Spatial conduit cylinder in the first round if you really want to. So that's Jol Nar. I think these guys are easily one of the most powerful races in the game. I think it's a little bit easier to get going in this game as Jol Nar. You should have a bit of an advantage in a lot of games. The technology stuff is just super powerful. Having 4 tech at the very start of the game is a huge advantage when you look at some of the objectives that come up in the game. In fact, 4 of them are specifically just for technologies. You've got own 2 techs in each of 2 colors, super easy for these guys. You've got own 2 unit technologies, unit upgrade technologies, super easy for these guys. Own 3 unit upgrade technologies, that's for 2 points, also quite easy for these dudes. And own 2 technologies in each of 4 colors, another 2 victory points. That's 6 VP if these come out in the same game. I mean, not likely that they'll all come up in the same game, but you're hedging your bets that at least 2 of these will show up, which is 3 points, and you're going to be doing this stuff anyway. That's really powerful for these. I mean, other players can do those as well, obviously. The phase 1 stuff probably quite easily, phase 2 stuff not quite so easily. But you've got, not only are you getting those points, you're also getting the stuff for the technologies as you do it. Starting with one of each color is great. So basically there's no glaring weakness for these guys. They get a lot of technology which makes them stronger all the time. Already getting extra action cards, already able to go through asteroid fields, getting deep space cannon defense going, and having Starwing tools to get a reduction on unit costs right at the very start of the game. There's not a lot to complain about with them. They have a lot of advantages. It's not going to be a push. They're not going to be a guaranteed win by any means, but they do have a lot of bonuses for basic stuff. I mean, they do have the negative of the -1 in combat, but I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, combat is random enough. Die rolls are random enough. I wouldn't want to be going into combat with a carrier or a fighter or a destroyer by any means, but if you can get yourself some better units, get yourself war sons early with all of your technology prerequisite discounts, you're going to be laughing anyway, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that -1. And that is the Universities of Jol Nar. I hope you have a lot of fun playing as these guys. They're a lot of fun to play. Experimenting with technology is great. Turtle down a little bit, be standoffish with your racial technologies, and you should have a lot of success. So enjoy your game of TI4. This has been Rulebreaker. Thanks for watching. Come back soon.